You are now live. Yeah, Schlock West in the morning, Dash Radio, the spin room. You know what it is. Okay.
What up, ladies and gents? Welcome back for another edition of the spin room. I'll be your man, Big Pee Wee. I got my folks with me, my ride or dies. I got my girl, Big Les. What up, Leslie Les?
People, what's up?
My girl, Jay Tasha, Miss Everything.
What it do, baby boo?
And your girlfriend's favorite DJ, DJ Ron C. What up, homeboy?
Hey, what's going down, man? Baby boo and what's up?
We ain't throwing up no signs. We just having fun.
Hey, I know. I didn't see it this today. Les didn't throw up the fingers. The nails must be sticking in.
Oh, it's so good.
You know what I'm saying? Well, we got a great show for everybody today, man. We got a special guest. I've known this brother for a very long time. I think this is going to be an extraordinary show right here, man. Like, seriously, I'm excited about this one because this is my boy. I've known him for a long time, man. This gentleman here, he started off as a showrunner for Insecure for the last 4 seasons, as well as an executive producer, a writer, and produces for other shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Scrub, Do Not Disturb, Breaking In, The Hustle, and his next flick film, Uncorked. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys can, please put your hands together and welcome my man, Prentice Penny. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Hey, Prentice.
Hey, was those claps for me? I was like, man, I just coming in on people clapping. I was like, what's that about?
All for you.
All for you, my brother. Yeah, man. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you. Happy to be here, man. Good to see everybody.
Yeah. Hey, so I was telling everybody I've known Prentice for a very long time. Me and Prentice actually played baseball together for the last, 15, 20 years, Prentice?
Yeah, since like 90, like the late 90s, man, early 2000s.
Now, I was Prentice's backup. He was the starter.
He just came late. He would just show up late. That's the only reason why I started over. He would show up halfway through the game.
Yeah. So Prentice would start. I come in, and I'd be like, Prince, you want me to take over? He'd be like, nah, I got it. No, we good. It's all good. But yeah, I've known this brother for a very long time, and I'm so proud of him and all of his accomplishments and everything like that. And once again, I want to thank you for taking the time out your day to come and hang out with the Spin Room crew. So let's jump right into it, my man. Since quarantine, what the heck have you been up to?
Surviving, man. I never, as far as I'm concerned, I think I'm killing the pandemic, man. I don't have nothing else to compare it to. So I feel like I'm living my best life as I can, man. You know, the world's burning down, so you know, it's a crazy time. But you know, just trying to keep my family safe, just trying to be safe, man, as much as possible, obviously. And you know, it's funny because it's all been in stages, right? So it's been, first was the pandemic, right, and then it's been the race stuff. So there's like 2 levels to like what we're in. So like the first pandemic was just like, oh man, like, what is this thing? I don't know what this is. This is crazy. You want to just keep everybody healthy. The kids are homeschooled now. So that was like, we got 3 kids. So my wife is like running around the house, trying to school, you know, 3 kids, making sure all the kids are on the Zooms, which is nuts. And then you had the race part, which like, man, just basically was like, all right, Corona, we ain't got time for this right now. We got to cake up in these streets and be on this walk. So it was almost like, I got Jesus around me in this walk. I'm gonna take this mask out because that's just more important. You know what I mean? And so it's been weird. It's this layering of, you know, world events that like, again, just doesn't happen every day. And so yeah, I've been listening to a lot of D Nice, Ninth Wonder on Instagram. You know, like everybody else, Club Quarantine, and drinking a lot, probably more than I have any other time currently as well. And you know,
so what are you drinking on right now? What you sipping on?
Well, see, I'm sipping a Tom Collins. What I decided was, I was like, I need to get my cocktail game to a new thing. I was like, I'm in the house. So I just started learning new cocktails that I wanted to perfect. Like simple, old school, like daiquiris, just like very simple versions of stuff. So I've been like perfecting. I'm basically Isaac from the Love Boat in the house. Like my wife was like, it's 2:00. What are we doing? So I'm basically in there like Ted Lane shaking a little shaker on the Love Boat, man. Try to make it happen. But yeah,
at Prentice's house.
yeah, come through. Social distance. Everybody 6 feet around, and we hang by the pool.
Well,
so with everything going on with like this pandemic and the protests, are you feeling inspired to write like real material or real scenes based around this, or are the networks calling looking for this kind of information?
That's a great question. For the longest I felt at first like, oh, I got all this time, right? Because on the show, like we had a break, and then I just felt during the pandemic I actually felt inspired to write because I was like, ooh, I got this window, right? And then when the race stuff hit, I just was like, nothing matters right now. Like I don't feel funny, and I write comedy, so a few projects I have that are drama, but I didn't feel funny. I didn't feel like anything in the world was funny. And then in some way you kind of do default to like who you are, and so you try to start. I was angry, tweeting a lot, and then I tried to find the humor in the craziness of the world, because that's kind of like my default is to find what's funny or weird or quirky or ironic about what we're going through. And then white people just make it so funny right now with like what they won't wear masks, like just their level of rage with like the woman, the woman recently that was like talking about Jesus and the 5G and y'all doing the devil's work and the mask, the doll out. And it just goes like, oh yeah, like I just try to find the humor in that. So to that point, I have been re-inspired because I've watched my people and the world change, like just watching all these like white actors and actresses recently being like, oh, I'm not gonna play this cartoon character anymore. I realize now that it's so bad. I was like, a week ago, you was getting them checks for playing for being white, playing black people. But now this, all of a sudden you realize is the world's different. So I just find it super funny. And I find that I think what we are though, is in a time where black artists get a chance to be unapologetically them, in a way that I think we were kind of shifting to with like stuff like Atlanta and Blackish and Queen Sugar and obviously what we try to do on Insecure. But I think now it's like, I wish a white person would give me a note on the script. I wish they'd give me a note. No notes. It's perfect. Every word is perfect. So I think they're open in a way that I have not seen Hollywood ever be open. Now we'll see if that lasts, but I definitely think people are like, I'm tired. I'm done. Everybody.
So let's take a step back real quick, Prent. Let's take a step back. Let's start from the beginning with Prentice Penny. How did Prentice end up being a showrunner, a writer? How did that all come into formation?
How far back? Like just the start of career stuff?
I mean, if you could kind of break it down.
Yeah, well, but basically, like, I grew up an only child. I loved writing. I loved being creative. And but I didn't really know what film school was. I just knew, like, I liked writing and stuff. And then when I was in high school, She's Gotta Have It came out. And I just saw this black dude as, like, a director. And I had never seen that, you know what I mean? And I didn't really know, because back then, like, you didn't know what TV people did. You would just see, like, the names. It's not like now where you're like, oh, that's J.J. Abrams, or that's, Chandra Rhimes. Like, that world just didn't exist yet. And so, but Spike was young. He was wearing Jordans. Like, I was like, oh, that's like me. He had just graduated from NYU. I was like 15 or 14 years old. So I wasn't that far removed, at least in my mind. And he used to write these books that he would put out at every movie. And it would be like a journal of what he was like. It would be like the script. So I got to see what a script looked like. It'd be like his journal from like concept of the idea to actually the movie coming out. So he would talk about, what he was thinking this day on set, or this actor, that actor. And now he would make these books, and then it'd be pictures from the set. And he'd do that for like school days, do the right thing. And I used to just read them like religiously, read these books. And then I was like, but I would always see him talk about NYU Film School. Cause I didn't know I thought you like went to college and you made a movie. I didn't know there was a school that you could do it at. And then, so I learned that NYU had a film school. And as I did my investigating, I saw USC had a film school. I saw where film schools were. I didn't even know that was, again, a concept. So I ended up going to USC for film school. And then after that, I graduated, kind of bounced around from various jobs. And then I got my first job on Girlfriends around 8 or 9 years later. And that was like my first like job. And I was writing I was a teacher while I was writing. I worked at a group home. I worked at Sylvan Learning Institute. I worked for a nonprofit. Like I did all these jobs I would write music videos for Tim Story. I used to these were like all my hustle jobs. And so, but eventually 9 years later, I got to that and then was on Girlfriends. That was obviously created by Mara Brock Akil, who's dope as hell. But that was also like being on a Black show was what I realized was I was on there for 4 years. The writer's strike hit and they were canceling all these Black shows. And I had to start working on white shows. And that was like a whole new world because on Girlfriends, we had done like 200 episodes of television. Like if Girlfriends was a white show, it would be like Friends. Like it would just have that kind of like, it would just have that impact on the world. But when I went to the white show, it was like, they had never heard of it. Or they was like, what? Because they just don't treat our shows the same. They don't view our art as the same. They view like, all of us are like, we all write Tyler Perry. Like that, they just kind of lump us into a box. There's no nuance of us. Like they can be nuanced all day, but not us. And so that's when I just started, and I'd be the only Black writer on these shows. And it was like, I'd be on Scrubs or Happy Endings or Brooklyn Nine-Nine and other shows. And obviously I'm thankful to get those shots. But again, I'd be the only Black writer in the room for like 8 years. And then obviously I got a chance to run Insecure. And then I was like, I'm changing all that. And I was like, we hire everybody Black. And
amazing.
Yeah, thank you. So that sort of is the road, but I started in 2004 and here we are today. So, that's a 16
years.
16 years.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. So that's sort of how it got to to Insecure.
Do you have that power now to call the shots on who is going to be on set on your production and it's these list of people? It's
100%. 100%. Like Issa and I, because that's the biggest thing is like, everything starts, as you can look at our country, right? Everything starts leadership top down, right? So people fall in line with what the rules are. So with us, or at least on the white shows, I would just notice that like there were always Black people in the hair and makeup department, but that's it. There would be no Black people in the camera department, no Black people in the grip and lighting department, no Black people in the sound department. And I just was like, it'd be like me, the one Black writer, one like Black person as like the makeup, and then that's it. You know what I mean? And so the truth is to get those jobs, you got to get into those unions. Well, to get those unions, you got to get those hours, right? And so it's just, again, the word systemic, right? We use a systemic problem. Like people hire the closest people to them. They want the easiest road to access. Well, it's like if let's say I was on Friends and now I get a job on Seinfeld, well, I'm gonna be like, Liz, come work with me on Seinfeld. We already work together on Friends. You cool, I'm cool. We like each other. Like, and then you're gonna hire the same people down the line. If those people are all white, then you see how that problem continues show to show. So what Issa and I did and what I told her, I was like, we have to start breaking that cycle for people to hire the easiest people close to them. So on our show, we have a minimum, every department from the heads down has to be at least 50% people of color, Black people and women at a minimum. So some departments, it's like 75 to 80%. But at a minimum, it's 50%. And so just that allows, and once you can get a show like that on your resume and you start working for HBO, people go like, because if you're Black and you work on like The Grip and on a Tyler Perry show, and it's no knock to that, it's just the gatekeepers don't view that the same way as working on a Shonda Rhimes show or an Insecure or something else, a Curb Your Enthusiasm. They just don't. It's just like you can have a degree from Howard, but they might not view it as the same as a degree from Stanford. What if you know how it is, right? And so it doesn't mean you're any less qualified. And so for us, it was, if they can come off our show having those opportunities, then they'll be better off and we're opening more doors while the time we're here. So that means our directors, all of our directors being Black. Like this was the first year we actually had 2 non-Black directors. So they were like our Rosa Parks of our directors. But again, one was our cinematographer who's been with us since season 2, and one was our editor who's been with us since the pilot. But other than that, every other, we've had, I'm trying to think, we've had 40 episodes of television, and 38 of those directors have all been Black. And women too, Black men and Black women.
So Print, let me ask this, since you're talking about that, and you guys, a series on HBO, which is Insecure, starring Issa Rae. How much does HBO let you guys, how much leeway does HBO give you guys in hiring and stuff like that? And how involved are they in this process?
A ton of leeway. They really let us do I will say, like, to their credit, they are different than I have seen, like, network, like the ABCs and the CBSs. Now, again, I don't know how those shows are going to be as we go forward from 2020 on, but I will say my experience in the past, those shows, it's not, they don't rock like that as much. And so, but to HBO's credit, we were like, this is what we want to do. And they were like, great, that sounds great. Let's make that happen. So we've never had any sort of like pushback in terms of like who we want to hire, especially with Black people and women of color as well. Like, we've never had any pushback, but they've been very supportive in that part for sure. But I think because we came in and said it, right? Like, had we not also said it, I don't know if they would have, because also that's like not their lane in some way, right? So if you do Game of Thrones over there, well, if those showrunners aren't saying, hey, we need to like get some diversity up in here, then guess what Game of Thrones is gonna look like? I mean, you already know, right? But it's really incumbent on the people that are the creators and the people who are empowered to make decisions. Because a place like HBO or Netflix, and I can say that for Netflix too, like when I made my movie, that they were 100, I had the same philosophy, like the same attitude. And so people did it, you know what I mean? It's just, if you just say it and say, this is the way we're rolling. And I've told other showrunners, white showrunners who I used to write for, when I was the only Black person, because we've had more candid conversations now, I was like, it starts with you. If you don't enforce it, it's just like in your house. If daddy don't enforce the rules or mama don't enforce the rules, but guess what the kid's gonna do? I mean, it just starts from leadership. And
so help me out on this though, Prentice. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spin Room. We have special guests, writer, producer, Prentice Penny in the building with us. Prentice, let me ask you, help me out, because I'm not in the show business world. So when you say, what is a showrunner? How do you go from a showrunner to a producer to a writer? Like, explain that to me, because I don't even know what a showrunner is.
For sure. So like a writer, obviously, it's in the title, right? They write, right? And then producer could mean it could mean one or two things, right? It can sometimes a producer is a writer. It's just sometimes like it's like a pay level. You might be like, you could be like vice president of payroll or whatever. So some writers, like you might see the word like co-executive producer or supervising producer or co-producer. A lot of times those are just writers. It's just the name associated to that. Because they're also producing some of the television, but they're also all writing, especially in television. Like movies is a different thing. So the showrunner though is like I would say is like the head writer and head producer of the show. So the showrunner, I'm in charge of hiring every single writer that writes for our show, hiring every single director that directs for our show, hiring all the staff on our show, all the support staff, all the editors, all the
Oh, I can get a job, is what you're saying?
Hey.
I mean, I produce as well, but I haven't did much TV show, so.
Say, okay, there you go. We'll have to talk offline then. But hiring all the location scout people, and then supervising when the filming is going on and giving notes while the filming is going on, and then creating every idea you see on the finished product from tip to tail. So that means sitting with all the writers, sort of crafting, well, what's this season going to be about? And what's this episode going to be about? And what's the arc of this character? What's this character doing? And supervising all the scripts, supervising all the rewriting, supervising all the editing, from everything from like, I remember when Issa and I last year said, we should start the season from I don't mess with Molly anymore till the music is done, the coloring is done, everything in between that gap from original idea till you watched it is what the showrunner is responsible for.
Got you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Brent. Because I was seriously, I saw showrunner and I'm sitting there like, what the heck how do you go from a showrunner? Like, what is a showrunner to a producer? And I knew you was right, because back in the day when we were playing baseball together, I remember like there were certain games you couldn't come to because you were on a show and you was doing this, that, and the other. So I knew that. But when it came to like a showrunner, I was like, what the heck is a showrunner? Like, what is he doing?
Yeah. So when you see that for like Ava or Kenya, like Barris or Lena, it's like that's what they're responsible for. They're responsible from the original thought of what the season should be all the way through everything that gets touched. They touch essentially.
Right. Got you.
You've been in this so long that you've probably started before there was a such thing as a diversity department, right? So I'm sure the beginning scenarios of you being in the room now to the conversations of them having to fill that quota of having 50% this, that, and the other is a thing. But as a writer, what are your conversations like with the Black actors in regard to their character, and now that they're getting roles that are not just the hooker or the drug dealer? What are those conversations like for you?
Well, there's two levels of those conversations, right? There's conversations that are when we're on set or when we're talking about the show, like even before we start a season, we'll sit with all of our actors and say, this is kind of what we're thinking for your character for the whole season. We'll sort of say, we'll kind of invite them in close to when we start filming, and they'll give us ideas too. They're like, and the longer Yvonne and Jay, they are those characters, the more ideas they start to have about that character, right? Because they kind of sit with that character really more than anybody. So we'll just talk about like, oh, like they may pitch things, or they might say, oh, I actually went through this, or my friend went through something. Is there a way to work that into the show? And sometimes we're like, yeah, that's really interesting, and like we love that. And then obviously on set, we're talking their character stuff, right? But then we have also conversations, because we're all friends in real life, where we have business conversations, right? Which are the types of opportunities we're able to get, the types of opportunities like we want to do together, the types of opportunities we should take, the types of opportunities we shouldn't take. Because we always talk in between stuff, and just we're all on different group texts of like, hey, this project came up. I'm not sure about this. What do you think about this? I'm worried about this angle. I think this could be interesting. And so we have like just industry are the kind of moves we want to make conversations also. And those are obviously in the show conversations, it's all about your character and where you're supposed to be going. But those other conversations are the ones that hopefully what we're doing is creating like a new legacy or a path that other people that came before us don't have to continue to go through. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like I'm at the point where, like, I kind of remember, I always say, like, I'm like the line of the ADBC of the way Hollywood is, because like when I was starting to write, like, there was no streaming, it was all the networks were like, HBO did TV and Showtime a little bit, but it was mostly all the big three, and then UPN and WB. It wasn't even CW yet, it was WB. And so I remember that split. And so I remember when I came along, again, there was no streaming, there was no Netflix shows, no Amazon shows, no Hulu shows. And so you weren't able to tell, like, you couldn't do an Insecure in 2006. You just couldn't, because networks were so concerned with getting big numbers that a show like this wouldn't get those like Modern Family numbers or those CBS Big Bang Theory numbers, because it was all about getting people to just watch television. Well, now people don't necessarily have to sit and watch television at a certain time anymore. You could just be like, I remember I had a conversation with our babysitter, and I was like, Scandal, it feels like an ABC show. And she was like, what do you mean it feels like an ABC show? And I was like, well, certain networks kind of make certain kind of shows. And she was like, oh, I watch Scandal on iTunes. Because I'm like, that's how you consume media now. You don't consume it at the station anymore. You can consume it on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Apple TV. So this idea that like people have to sit at a TV to get the numbers doesn't mean anymore. It's like people now DVR stuff. They like now they have ratings for it's like live, and then live plus 3 days, and then live plus 7 days, because the ratings don't. It's like those big rating days are gone for like TV. So like that's the beauty of why shows like Atlanta, Insecure can exist, because you don't have to worry about getting 20 million people to watch it. Because we would always say that we know there's an audience to see ourselves. We know there's an audience, we want to see it, but the way they tallied that working for them in the economics didn't make sense for their economic rubric. Well, now it does, and the audience is there, has been there, obviously, because we do. We show up more on social media for our television shows than any other nationality in the United States.
Man, that's the facts right there.
It's real. I mean, they told us those numbers. I mean, it's real numbers, how much social media conversation is around Black shows.
I had a question for you, Prentice. Seeing that I'm the millennial of the show, I did do, some little research, and I saw that on trendcelebshow.com that you're like one of the most successful TV producer, and that you are the richest TV producer in California. So what does...
No, that is, I don't know what website that is, but they need to send me a check, because no.
Because I was about to ask.
That is, Kenya Bear is sitting over there on some giant net. Shaka Rhimes got like 200 million from Netflix. No, not at all. I mean, I'm not like on the streets begging for like oatmeal, but I'm not also not at all one of the richest. But so I don't know even how to start to answer that.
Get your hand out my pocket.
Yeah. First, I'm like, and also I got like my wife's a stay-at-home mom. I got 3 kids. I'm supporting. We trying to bring a dog in. Nobody in my house got a job but me. So I'm like, I don't know where all the money because
you the one who give everybody a job and nobody got a job.
Nobody got a job. I told my kids, I was like, y'all could leave today and I would be okay.
Dang, Prentice. Dang.
Hey, man. Sometimes you gotta humble these kids, man. I'm like, y'all just eat, sleep, and poop around here. Y'all don't contribute nothing to the blights, to the thing, nothing.
I'm with you.
No complaints. Y'all should have no complaints.
I'm with you.
I did have one more question. Seeing how you work with Issa Rae on Insecure, and she's a millennial, and then the new way of how things are transcribed. How, is it different? Do you like the new way versus the old way, or what do you prefer better?
Yes. Yes. I mean, to me, the beauty is like, I love that like Issa will never know what I had to go through. Like her first show, and it's not to Dick, I mean, she works amazingly hard. I see it every day. And I've been working with her 5 years now. And we're very close as friends, as like a brother-sister relationship. And I love that on her first time out the gate. Like I had to work on 8, 9, whatever shows before I got to get here. And I love that she got to jump the line because I know so many white people that jump the line all the time and don't have to put in the dues to get the same thing. And so I love that, like her story will never be my story. I love that she'll never worry about what it's like to be the only Black person in the writer's room. Like I love that. I love that she'll never have to worry about a writer's room of her show not having just one Black person. That's amazing. I love that she'll never feel that. Just the same way I love that my kids will never have to go through certain things. I pray, you know what I mean? That's the whole point. It was like, we didn't have to go through, I mean, it's crazy right now, obviously, but we didn't have to go through what Rosa Parks and them went through, right? Although, again, now you could certainly argue that. But and that's the whole point, is that we're supposed to be making it better for the people that come. And I hope that Issa is making it easier. I mean, even the fact that, like, Issa, I think, will make it easier. I know this is so dated to even say this, but Issa will make it easier for like a Black woman with natural hair to be a lead of a show. Like, and that's crazy to even think that has to be a thing. But she will. She was a cover girl. This is a Black woman with natural hair who is like the television show about being quirky and clumsy as a Black woman. Usually Black women got to be together, fly all the time, you know, cool, this, that, and the third, and she can't dance. And, you know, she fights all the tropes of what's expected of Black people and Black women. And she's still dope and a businesswoman and an entrepreneur and all these amazing things. And so I love that she'll never have those concerns. I think that's great.
Congratulations, my man, on picking up the 5th season of Insecure.
Yeah. Thank you.
We can't wait to see what happens. Woo! We can't wait.
The fan from day one.
Yeah.
So Prentice, give me the breakdown.
Y'all mad at the finale? Were y'all mad at the finale?
Give me the breakdown, bro.
What you want to know?
What's up with this pregnancy twist, man?
Man, so it really came from, we felt like we had taken Lawrence a long way, right? Like when you meet Lawrence in the pilot, he got like no job. You know, he was basically on the couch, not doing nothing, got a job at Best Buy, and finally had worked his way up. But we felt we almost leveled him up too much. That like his cockiness, and I felt like that happens to guys too, is that they start feeling themselves a little too much. And Lawrence was out there last season getting chlamydia out in the streets and was out there raw dogging and all that stuff. Like just being like, because I think that's real. Like sometimes Black men like, I ain't got no kids, I got kids. Like I'm a kid, like you should be thankful. Because we were talking about that in the room where sometimes dudes like, you should be thankful to be with me. And that was kind of like Lawrence's attitude a little bit. But Lawrence to me has always had a little bit of like a fake confidence. Because really, he's like really insecure a lot and kind of is like, in our minds, we always saw Lawrence as like a serial monogamist, really. So when he was out in the streets, he really wasn't really acting in character. That's kind of why he got burned and kind of had to reassess, is this really what I'm trying to be? But we wanted to like just dirty the character up a little bit and like give him something that like wasn't so clean. And if you remember in the season 2 finale, Issa has that fantasy of like what it was going to be like to like maybe be married to Lawrence and come home with the baby and blah blah. And one of the things that we wanted to play with coming into season 5 was like, and I think this happens when you go from your 20s to your 30s, which is I had this one vision of this life for myself. But if that doesn't match up, is that still okay? What's settling versus settling down? What's like, oh, I'm growing up and maturing versus I'm compromising. And you start to have to weigh those things, which is like, because I think when you're in your 20s, you're like, I'm going to be this by 25, I'm going to be this by 28, I'm going to be this by 32. And then you hit 31 and you're like, oh, I'm not none of them things. So maybe I need to look at like what success and happiness in my life looks like. And it's just a grown way to look at things. And so we wanted Issa and Lawrence to have to wrestle with this, like, okay, this isn't ideal, but they said in the season finale, like, you make me happy. Issa says happiness is a choice. So let's see if that's the choice they make.
Woo! I feel all kinds of emotions. I have so many. I'm just like, yep, been there, that's happened, blah, blah, blah. So what happens when you have written such like a masterful scene or storyline and you hire an actor who can't convey all the things that you felt this character should be? What is that like? And, you know, when you have to fire them or replace them, or what happens in all of that?
So that's a great question. And I mean, I've been very thankful that on Insecure, we've had great talent. Like we have a lot of great actors. But there are times, you know, sometimes what it is you write a character and in your mind, the character's supposed to be this way, but then you get an actor and the actor may not be able to do the things you want that character to do, but they do something else. Because every actor that we've hired, they may not have been exactly, some are perfect. Like Neil Brown, who plays Chad, he is Chad 100%, and he took Chad to a whole new level in what we wrote on the page. And then there are some who go, oh, you write it this way, but then when you see them do it, it's like, oh, it doesn't, they either A, can't access that thing, or they actually access something else, and you learn to play to their strength. So you rewrite certain things or a certain, let's say you have two characters who are like, oh, we wrote a character who was supposed to be kind of like a bit of a jerk. And that's how they're supposed to interact with that person. Well, let's say you get the actor, maybe the audition was cool, but like in real time, it doesn't quite play out the same. But they do something else. And you go, okay, let's make them less of a jerk and let's lean into this other trait they have because they'll pull that off. And what we're trying to accomplish in the spirit of it will still be accomplished. Because what you're really trying to accomplish are like, oh, they have chemistry or they have this or they have that. So you may say, well, maybe they can't do this way, but as long as they have the chemistry, nobody will care. And also nobody will know. Because like the audience will never know in our mind, we wrote this character to be this way, but really they're that way. Or they might know, but they'll never at least see it from a page perspective or at least from the story perspective. So that happens. And if that still doesn't work, there's always editing. Editing is a gift from God that saves a lot of people, and we use that because our goal is obviously is like we want, because if that shows, then we haven't done our job. Then it's egg on our face too. So we always want every actor to come in and crush it and succeed. And we've had a very high success rate of finding like young Black talent and introducing new talent out there, obviously.
So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spin Room. We have special guest Prentice Penny in the building with us, writer, producer of the hit series on HBO, Insecure. Once again, thank you for joining us, my brother. I know Jay Tasha had a question for you also.
Yeah, I did have a question. The show is titled Insecure, and now that you guys have developed all these characters and we've been rocking with these characters since day one, will we tap into their insecures, like Lawrence's insecures, Molly's insecures? Will we tap into each one of the different characters' insecures?
Yeah, we've tried to been showing. I mean, we've tried to been showing them kind of along the way at various parts. Like Lawrence obviously was very insecure about Daniel for a long time, obviously, and we tried to show his growth this season. Like when Issa brings up like, oh, I have a friend of mine, Nathan. I'm gonna help him move. Is that cool? And Lawrence kind of makes a joke, and he's actually fine with it. Like, I understand, like that happened a long time ago, but that's not who you are now. You know, Molly's obviously wrestling with a lot of her insecurities of sort of, you know, having to feel like she has to have this sort of fairy tale life or what she thinks her life should look like. And obviously with Andrew this year, she wrestles a lot with shutting people off and shutting them down or closing herself off. So I mean, you know, and Issa has a ton. So we're always trying to, you know, it's just like, when do you want to activate them? You know, when do you want to poke them? But we've tried to show, you know, we try to show them, and then we try to show how they've changed, and then we try to show how new ones pop up. And sometimes there's like levels to like, you're like, I still can't shake this thing, or I thought I shook this thing, you know. And obviously those are tough things, but yeah, we try to continue to show along the way.
I can absolutely relate to you saying that, like, when you do so many Black projects that people don't give you or take you as serious as if you do other things. I worked for BET for 8,000 years, and me trying to venture off into other things is like, well, and it's like, yeah, I can still, you know, cross-pollinate, so to speak. Yep. But as being a comedic writer, as you say, is there any part of you that has done stand-up comedy or wanted to be an actor? Because we see Tyler Perry put himself into stuff, Spike Lee put himself into stuff, and you really can dictate your own way at this point, right, and insert yourself in a scene. Would you ever consider doing that?
0%. I know. I have zero. I would say I have zero desire. I'm not saying I have zero. I might have one desire, 1% desire, but I just have too much respect for like what Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock and Eddie Murphy. I mean, all these, Yvonne and Amanda, what all they do. Like when I watch them prepare, I'm just like, I don't love it like that, and I don't have any desire to do the work they do. Like none. Like I like what I'm able to do, and I love what I'm able to do. And like right now, we're developing a late night talk show for HBO, so I'm excited about that. But that's probably the closest. But I'm not in it. I'm just helping develop what the show will be. But no, I don't.
You're in the wind down.
I was forced to do the wind down. I never. If you look at season 2, when we did the wind downs when they started, I was only in one. She had every other guest on, and Issa hates doing things by herself. Issa loves a group project. So season 3, we were wrapping the show, and she was like, "So I'm gonna see you next week." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Oh, I want you to do the wind downs with me. I don't want to do them by myself. They're so boring by myself. What are you doing with me?" And I was just like, she was like, "Come on, just do it." And I was like, fine. So that's how I got roped into the wind downs the last 2 years.
That's so crazy when we see all of our different, like, or people in this business with different, those who want to be behind the scene and those who want to be in front of the camera. Because you going, oh, I'm just like, pick me, right? Me too, right? You know what I mean? We're so used to that thing.
Yeah, no, I have no, and I just do them now because they're fun to do with her, and she and I can drink do them, and usually by the midway through, we're like, we're nice, so we kind of stop caring about the prompters. We're like, yeah, we got it. And so usually I go kicking and screaming, but that's my girl. I have fun. Issa and I have a lot of fun. Like we're doing another project together. It's rare that I think you meet people that you just like. I mean, you guys all know, like where you feel like creatively you just like vibe with somebody. And you just kind of hit it off. It's, you know, it's like when a producer and a musician hit it off. You're like, oh, they make good, you know, Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson. Oh, like, and that's a good like partnership, you know, like musically. And I think she and I just kind of speak a similar comedic language that we can say things to each other without a very little explanation. And I think our relationship kind of started that way. I mean, we grew up. We're both from like Leimert Park, View Park area. We grew up blocks over from each other. We both worked at nonprofits. When we were talking about the show, like we would talk about, I remember she told me she had another meeting with another showrunner who was not Black before when they were hiring people. And she was like, I just got exhausted having to explain like what an AKA was and like why Molly would be an AKA. But when she and I met, I didn't know about that, but I was like, yeah, Molly's AKA and like da. And we were just like, because I was like, I'm a capitalist, so like I know that like there were just things that we didn't have to explain that we just know the culture and we know LA culture because we're both really from here. So and not like the Valley LA, like Leimert Park LA, you know. And so we just had a second hand that was like easy to understand, and we just got it. So
tell me about this new project, 2 projects. Help me out on 2 projects. The project that you and Issa is working on, and then the second HBO project, Queens.
Yeah, so I don't want to speak too much about the other one because we haven't sold it yet. But it's an animated. I'm very excited. It's about Black women and it's animated. So and it's real like raw. It's like very style. It's very tonally is going there. So it's very like South Park in tone, playing with like race and culture. And yeah, it's raw. It's real raw.
Okay.
And I'm excited about that. and the Queens Project is cool. It was written by, we're just producing it, but it was written by this woman that won a Pulitzer called Martina Mayak, and she actually grew up in Chernobyl, but she's an immigrant from Poland, and the show is about all the people who like clean the office buildings you work in. And it takes place in New York. It takes place in Queens. And it's about 5 immigrant women and this sort of community they've sort of made of themselves. So it's like all the people you ignore on the bus, the subway, the people that you don't like, the people that you never pay attention to. It's about their lives. It's about their stories. And it's about these 5 women who sort of come together as friends of various immigrant backgrounds and telling their stories, and the stories that the people who are in cages and the people that are coming over here and who are dealing with life here in various years. So I'm super excited about that, because again, like, it's just giving voice to people that don't get a voice.
All right, so the studios have come a very long way. If you could change one thing about what happens next in regard to production and our people or whatever, what would it be? Or for writers or whatever?
In our business, I would 100% change that there be more Black studio heads. Because at the end of the day, those are the people that say yes and no to what gets made.
Yes.
Right? And so not having to like appeal to like the goodness of like a white exec to tell me this is important. Like, I'd love for somebody to understand why it's important just because they understand why it's important, and without the sort of like making it be palatable to a white audience. And I think when you have Black gatekeepers, they afford those opportunities to occur. And I mean, and also Black gatekeepers who aren't in fear of their job, right? Because there's another level of like, yeah, but I can't pick the Black show because then they're gonna expect me to pick the Black show. Like, and that's a headache in and of itself. You know what I mean? So like, for them to be unapologetically to be able to pick the shows they want, and obviously I think there's this feeling like a Black person gonna go on CBS and it's just gonna be all Black shows on CBS. It's like, that's not gonna happen. Like, it's crazy. But that's their fear. That's their fear, right? It's like we can't play in the boardroom with them. And so that would be my biggest thing, because that's a huge. There's no Black studio heads, none on movies or film. There's no Black people who do that, who can greenlight or say yes or greenlight a movie or a television show at the highest level. There's just not.
Yeah.
Would you love to take that on? Would you love to be the next Black studio head?
Oh, no design. No. I'm not a business. There's so many like minutia of business and like the economics of that. Like, there's so much. I don't want to be going to like now, whatever, like those things where you got to go talk to Tide about why I don't want to go. That sounds horrible.
I definitely
sit here and drink Tom Collins and just like.
I definitely understand. That's why I created my own network, so I can be able to put out direct-to-consumer content.
Exactly. And especially now, I mean, even last how you were talking, like, how has this stuff changed? Like, even the ability, like, to Issa to even have even for YouTube to exist, for her to even put out a web show, it says how the business has changed. Like, when I was starting film school, you had to, like, shoot on film. There was no video yet. And if you shot on video, it looked cheesy. And you had to almost write your movie or thing to be why you're shooting it on. Like, you'd have to be like sexualized and video, and like the whole movie's about, like Blair Witch. It's like they leaned into the idea that they were filming on a camcorder. So like they made it seem like a documentary. So, but that was how you had it to look. Now you can shoot a movie on your iPhone and it looks like any movie in the theater. Like, that's real. The technology is just different, and it affords creatives to like just get, I don't have to spend money on film, processing film, transferring film to video to edit. I can shoot it on my phone, edit on my computer, and put it out and release it literally in the same day. You can shoot film, release, market, Instagram, everything out there all in one day, and your movie's out there. Like, literally a day. That changes everything. It changes who gets to be seen. It changes who sees, it just changes everything. It changes, it's a huge game changer.
All right, Prentice. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spin Room. We got special guest Prentice Penny in the building with us, writer, producer of the hit series HBO. Prentice, Upscale with Prentice Penny. We seeing another season 2?
No.
That's it. Season 1. That's a wrap.
That was it. It was not on the right. It was like it was fun. It was so much fun to do. The whole thing was like, I never get to see Black people be dope and like be in other worlds that like Anthony Bourdain and those people get to be in. I always feel like black people love all this. Like black people love cigars, suits, wine. We love all that stuff, but we never see ourselves reflected in that. And
Right.
I was thankful that True gave us the opportunity to do it. I just don't think it was on the right network. I think like it needed to either be like a Quibi type show where you could just kind of like get it quick and be on a platform. But True TV again, to like, I'm thankful, but it's just very white. So it was like nobody of color is like watching it on that network. But we never got to, that was the first place we pitched it and they bought it in the room. So we never like took it anywhere else. You know what I mean? So we just made it there. So in hindsight, again, I was thankful, but it just wasn't the right. But that's important too. It's like where your show airs is important. Who it's airing on is important. How it's consumed is important. So in hindsight, if I had to do it again, I would have approached the show differently. I just wasn't thinking about it from that perspective then. But you know, you live and learn, and you learn. You know,
most def. Before we get up out of here, I got two more things. That one for sure we got to touch on is your Netflix film Uncorked.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I mean, hit film, man. Like, I mean, I was stuck in the TV like, oh man. So two things, Prentice. First, give me how did it come about and why wine? Because I'm a bourbon drinker, my dude. So I'm thinking to myself like, why not bourbon?
Well, how it came about was I was getting, like when I was writing on TV, I was getting offered to write movies, but I was getting offered to write like sequels to movies. And I felt like I hadn't found my voice as a writer yet. Because when you're writing a TV show, you're writing in in like another writer's voice. And I just felt like in movies, I hadn't found mine. And I was really scared that like, if I don't find it now, I'll never kind of find it. I'll just be repeating other people's voice. And so I wanted to write something that was personal. And at the time I had just had my oldest son now. And it made me understand my father differently. Like my father and I had some struggles growing up. But it made me understand him more as just a guy trying to figure it out. And so I grew up in a similar situation to like in the movie. And I wanted to write about that because I was like, you never get to see black father-son stories where the fathers, in our movies, it's always their problem is that the father was absent, right? The father's not around, or the father was a drug addict, or this or that. I was like, in white movies, they get to just be people. They get to just have like an issue, like in Good Will Hunting, or Manchester by the Sea, or in Chef, or any of these movies where white people just kind of get to be simple and basic, like Lady Bird. It's just like, oh, she and her mom don't get along, but why can't we get those movies, right? So I wanted to write that experience for me and my friend, because I was like, my dad was around, my friends' dads were around, like that wasn't my story. So I wanted to write that. So anyway, fast forward to, I always like barbecue as like a good family business. I have friends of mine that have restaurant business. And I also think like men, we like gather around, like men, every like little life thing my dad has taught me is usually happening around a barbecue. And I mean, like if you go to a barbecue, you always see the men around the barbecue talking, complaining about their life or talking about their life or sharing. It's a very like caveman-y experience, right? It's like man, fire, food, right? That's the thing. So I thought that was interesting. And then I was like, nobody wants to see a movie about a writer. But I knew I wanted to do something like elevated that the father kind of couldn't wrap his head around. A space you typically don't see people of color in, but we occupy. So I was trying to figure out what is this thing. At the time I was reading all these articles about like these young black opera singers today who had grown up listening to hip hop and how the hip hop had influenced their opera. And I was like, oh, that's dope. I've never really seen that. And so in the movie, I was like, oh, I could see interesting set pieces and I could hear the music and I could see how that would be cinematic. And I just couldn't kind of crack it. And then I went to Paris I'd never been to Europe. I went for a cousin's wedding and it was around my anniversary and I didn't even drink wine. The most wine I drank was like some White Zinfandel at like the Essence Festival. That was like my wine. Was like some Behringer and Frankie Beverly. Like that was my wine experience. And I was like, Lance, in my all white at the Essence Fest, at the Essence. And so that was all I knew. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to Paris. If I don't like wine in Paris, I'm just never going to like it. And it's like going to New Orleans and not liking gumbo. If you don't like gumbo in New Orleans, then you just not mess with gumbo. And so I took this wine class, like a wine 101, super simple. And the guy just made it really easy to understand wine, like what was on the label, what the regions mean. And he just broke it down that easy. And I got really into wine that trip. And then I started watching all this stuff about wines, got more into it. And I saw this documentary called Somm, which is about it's like a hoop dreams of wine. It's like these four guys trying to take this wine test. and I saw a black dude who ended up being one of our producers on our movie. And I was like, this should be what the son should want to do. And then you kind of naturally kind of understand, oh, food and wine, you know, the way the dad obsesses about the wood and the ribs, and it's the same way you can obsess about the grapes and the regions. There were like natural, like entry points that were similar for the food and the wine.
Gotcha.
And then just to see, then it became interesting because I was like, oh, I could take him to Paris in the movie. And I've never seen like a black man in Paris in an American movie. Like you see white people get to go to Under the Tuscan Sun and you know, Notting Hill and, you know, As Good as It Gets, they get to go to, but you like the most you see black people go into a movie is like Atlanta. That's what, like, we get to go to Miami, that's it. And I was like, black people travel the whole world. We go everywhere, but we never see that in movies. And I was like, I'm gonna put this black man ride this bike. I just knew that. I was like, when I started writing and I was in Paris, and I was like, I'm gonna put this black man riding his bike through Paris, going through the museum, looking at all these priceless works of art. And I was like, I definitely want to make sure that's in the movie. And obviously it is. But I just, again, to imagery that you don't see typically, to me, that's where it became interesting, right? Because it was seeing imagery and things that we don't get to see. And I didn't realize, because at the time when we were editing it, obviously a lot of movies like Queen and Slim and a lot of movies that have a lot of race heavy topics were coming out. And I was like, oh, snap, I don't know if people really gonna be like fucking with this dude trying to go drink wine or whatever it might seem. But the response and it becoming the #1 movie for like 2-3 weeks was like crazy, because it was like, yeah, that's what we do want to see. But you can lose track of a lot of that because you don't know. I just know in my spirit, I was like, I want to see black men have another kind of relationship and see us in other unexpected ways. And so it was nice and validating to see people also felt the same way.
All right, that's my man. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we got writer producer Prentice Penny with us. Prentice, before we get up out of here, I got to do this. One thing is called 5 for 5. Okay. And then we're going to close out, okay? We're going to do this thing. It's called 5 for 5. I'm going to hit you with 5 questions. And these 5 questions, the first thing that comes to your head, all right? All right. During quarantine, who is that one person that's not able to come to your house? Now, I know in season 5, they say Kerry Washington is supposed to be helping you out producing. Am I correct on this?
She directed this year.
Okay, so here we go. Issa Rae or Kerry Washington? Which one can't come to the house?
Kerry Washington. I work for Issa every day. Tell Issa, tell her my homegirl she can't come to the house. Kerry Washington, hey, it's cool. Kerry, no, it's cool, but nah, Kerry can't go.
All right, here we go. 5 for 5 with my man Prentice Penny. If it was one TV show you could go back to and write and produce all over again, which show underneath your belt you would go back and do?
Ooh, it's going to sound controversial now because of everything, but I would say Cosby.
Okay.
I would say Cosby.
All right. What is one fear and phobia do you have that people do not know? Fear or phobia?
Heights, 100% heights.
You don't like heights? So you didn't go to the Eiffel Tower?
I did, but I didn't go to the edge. I was, nah. I went like right to the thing where I could kind of see. Like I hate flying. Anything heights related, nah.
So flights, okay.
Like heights all day.
All right, so with the movie Uncork, I know that you got a lot of wine. You got a lot of folks really interested in wine all over again. And a lot of people delivered a lot of wine to you.
Yes.
Yeah. What's that one wine that was delivered to you? And you said, this is some bullshit. Who the fuck gonna deliver this to me?
No, baby.
Why you gotta put it on blast like that?
Okay.
Can I say the person?
You can give me initials. I'll let you off. Give me initials.
The initial of the person?
Yeah. Of the bottle. Or no, you can actually tell me the bottle. Nobody's gonna know who it was. Just tell me the bottle.
Because I don't want to disparage a brand. I don't want to disparage a brand.
Okay, then give me the initials of the person that sent it to you.
My cousin Jerry.
Oh, okay.
I know his name. My cousin Jerry. I was like, you just went to Rouse and bought this, like not even refrigerated. I was like, man, stop it. My cousin Jerry.
It is. During quarantine, what is the one thing that you have done more and the other thing that you've done less?
Ooh. One thing I done want more.
First thing that come to mind.
Drink.
More drinking.
More drinking. Less eating.
Less eating.
Less eating.
Me too.
I've been drinking my meals. So.
All right, then, man.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get out of here, one last thing. What's next on the plate for Prentice Penny? What's next?
What's next? Obviously, we're writing season 5 right now. I'm looking at a few movies to direct. We sold a movie to Netflix, a Christmas movie that I'm going to direct in 2022. That I'm writing with a writer on our show named Phil Jackson, another Black man. It's super funny. It's a super funny Christmas movie. There might be a big star we're working on closing that hopefully soon, so it should be out in the trades next week, hopefully. So that and just more writing, man. Just like we have a fantasy project set up at HBO with like Black people in the world of like Lord of the Rings and that kind of a vibe, which is very epic. It's a graphic novel created by this Black man from London, and it's really dope. It has a Black girl as like the Luke Skywalker of this universe. It's really dope. And I'm writing another like a Black family drama for HBO. Man, I'm super excited about this stuff.
All right. So, ladies and gents, you can catch up with Prentice Penny on IG if you like. _A_Prentice. So it's _A_Prentice. My man, Prentice, I truly appreciate you taking the time out and hanging out with the Spin Room crew. Thank you so much, my brother.
No, it's been a pleasure. I could ask you questions all day long. Seriously, I'm just like soaking it all in. So thank you for all you've done for our culture, you know.
Thank you.
Somebody do some backflips for your Luke Skywalker thing.
Absolutely.
I'm still there.
Hey, we may be calling. That's real. Thank you, Les.
Thank you so much for shining a light on, executive producing behind and front and, your input. So we definitely appreciate that. Me being a young producer myself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jay Tasha. And my wife's name is Tasha, so I was like, oh, I remember.
Oh, okay.
That's what's up.
We wish you the best. Congratulations and continued success. Seriously.
Thank you to you guys too. Thank you.
All right, Prentice, we're gonna get up soon, man. I'm gonna get you into some bourbon. Let you try some bourbon.
I got a whole thing of bourbon right here, man, at the bar. I'm ready to go.
What you got at the bar? What you got at the bar? No, you don't.
Let me see. I got.
We got pools and stuff. I'm coming over.
Got some.
Oh, you got Elijah Craig. Nice.
Elijah Craig. We got some. Let me see. We got some scotch up there.
Okay. You got. Okay, you got a lot of Irish whiskey though.
You got some.
Oh, that's a Japanese joint.
That's the Japanese joint.
We're gonna be taking you both to AA after quarantine.
Hey, let me know when you're ready, Print. I'll drop by the house, man, and drop off a bottle to you, man, that you can try. And believe me.
Hey, you ain't said nothing, man.
Yeah, because that's my thing. Bourbon is my thing, man. I just started a new bourbon thing. It's called Bourbon Snob Society.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with that. I'm rocking with that.
Yeah, we call Bourbon Snob Society. It's PJ Butter, myself, and a couple of other folks, man. And we doing the same thing you doing with wine, we doing with bourbon.
What's your favorite bourbon?
Right now, it is. I'm gonna go with Colonel G.H. Taylor. Yep, small batch.
I just had some last night.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. So we gonna talk, man.
Yeah, we gotta talk.
Yeah. All right. But once again, Prentice, thank you so much, my brother.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get up soon and chop it up. But thank you once again for being part of the Spin Room. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Big Les, that's Jay Tasha, our special guest, Prentice Penny, and I'll be your man, Big Pee Wee. We are the Spin Room. Thank you guys very much. You guys have a wonderful, blessed day. See you. Peace.
Yeah, you are now live